Well, I'm the founder and CEO of the ID Co. We rebranded a couple months ago. We started about 5 years ago to create trust online. So we started with the mission to be able to prove people are who they say they are, a challenge I think we all associate with, but to do that in a way that empowers the individual, that empowers us as individuals. We started off a couple of years ago, 4 or 5 years ago now, as a consumer product, as a digital passport, and a couple of years ago launched a business service called Direct ID. And we do that because, quite simply, we live in a convenience world, right? We live in a world where, it's a great stat I heard the other day, that 71% of millennials would rather go to the dentist than open a bank account. I think that's fantastic. And I think the reality of a lot of what we're talking about today is the fact that it is, consumers are motivated by convenience more than anything else, and more than privacy, more than security, more than all those other things. It's why we love that one-click checkout on Amazon, even though we're storing our card details there. It's why we don't look at the privacy policy. It's why we don't do a lot of these things. We believe that we can leverage that convenience to encourage people to go through these processes in a better way to prove they are who they say they are, to share some sensitive data that changes the way the business interacts with those consumers and creates that better world. And I think GDPR is a great example of regulation coming in, but also things like PSD2, the Payment Services Directive, is starting now to open up more and more data sources that is these convergence of factors that I think are really going to start to change the market over the next couple of years. I think in online lending, which will kind of lead into the case study, so I was asked to do a case study or show an example of this in action and some of the benefits from that. Online lending has seen a huge amount of disruption over the last few years. I mean, I'm not talking about payday lenders and that sort of market. I'm talking about the 700 alternative finance companies that are offering real good service and real value to consumers. People like Cabbage, which has been a flag carrier in the fintech space for a long time, leveraging identity and data from alternative sources, in our case from the bank account. That's what Direct ID does, is leverages the identity and trust you already have with your bank to fundamentally change that process. In a world where retail banks can only deliver about 7% of their products digitally end to end, and where marketplace lenders are growing 50 to 100% a year. So seeing identity, verified identity and data disrupting a whole industry is hugely exciting. eMoney Union is one of these companies. So they focus on second charge mortgages, peer-to-peer mortgages type thing, right? So offering financial products for people, first-time buyers and those sorts of things, where people couldn't normally get a good mortgage product. So opening up a bit of a market. eMoney Union is a bit of a case study. Had all of those all of those typical needs as any financial institution does. There's always a mixture. Financial services is a very complex environment. There's always a mixture of regulation, there's fraud, there's compliance, there's all of these mixtures of risk-adverse factors that kind of stop them dealing with people online. eMoney Union is a financial services, they're a regulated entity. What we were able to do for them was set up using Direct ID, a hosted solution, so integration-free, no software. You can integrate it as well, but integration-free service that simply allowed them to offer an alternative to their consumers, to say to those individuals, look, there's a quick way to do this, right? You don't have to spend 3 days, you don't have to come into a branch, you can spend what takes an average of 24 seconds. So I'm sure everybody here would love to be able to take out a bank account, even if you are one of those millennials, in 30 seconds. I mean, that would be a great user experience. At the same time, by leveraging that identity and data, they've seen a huge impact in their business. And this is top to bottom. And I'm not talking about 2% or 4% or marginal increases. They've seen a 75% reduction in application fraud. By taking those trusted attributes directly from the individual's bank and using those as part of the application process, now they don't have to worry as much about fraud, to the point now where they don't actually accept consumers that don't go through the process because they just have too many problems with the other 25%, right? Doing that, allowing the individual to go through that, has again changed. These are all step changes. This is, I guess this is an area I find really exciting. I love to be able to take something and then see the ripple effect. So the application fraud is fantastic. I mean, that's brilliant. If we could remove 75% or even 50% of the fraud in the UK, we could fundamentally change the economy. I mean, that's part of the benefit here. But at the same time, to be able to offer to the consumer same-day funding and same-day application process is fantastic. Because as consumers, we don't like to manage our finances. We don't like, as much as banks would like to believe, going into a branch and spending all that time. We like to, go to the pub, read a book, play sport, do whatever it is, spend time with the family, something I don't get a chance to do enough. But, we like to do all those other things. And I think this is something I think is really important from looking to alternative data sources and stuff. Credit risk assessment accuracy is, again, another huge area. We live in a world where we use personal data, your name, address, and date of birth to do credit risk assessments and credit scores based on historical data. And that's fantastic data for negative indicators, but it doesn't tell them who I am. It doesn't convey who I am as an individual. Am I still employed, or do I pay my bills on time? So again, that live financial data is rippling through this whole process, top to bottom, to allow these applications, these financial services, to be distributed in a completely different way. And that's gone all the way through up to the FCA level. Right? It's gone to the regulators. They've taken direct ID as part of responsible lending, which the regulators want people to do. They want us to treat consumers with respect and fairly. Taken this to those regulators, to the FCA, and the FCA has been more than happy with it. It's been fantastic to see, again, that embracing consumer-driven interactions to create better services and products. So whether it's fraud reduction, it's compliance, it's credit risk assessment, for me, as an individual, it's all about that user experience. The industry talks a huge amount about a frictionless user experience, and I think it's stuff like Direct ID or other services out there that have a real kind of consumer empowerment to achieving that. Again, moving from the old world into the new world, dropping those traditional data sources, looking for consumers to share more of that data with you to change the way we do things. So hopefully that's been a bit of a case study, a bit of a snapshot. I think I'm pretty much on 7 minutes.
Yep.
Cool.
Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you very much.